So we're going to move into this beautiful experience called the 12 Living Lights. And before we begin, I want to share a little bit with you. This candle lighting ceremony was actually a gift of a Reverend Kelly Isola. And what she has done is she incorporated Charles Fillmore, our Unity co-founder, his understanding of the 12 powers, and laid it over the symbolism, the metaphysical symbolism that's associated with Christmas. And so I wanted to provide a little bit of information for you as we moved through this, because when I mentioned the word regenerating, Charles Fillmore uses that a lot. And another word that we often would hear is spiritual quickening. And what that really means, when we have a quickening, what that really means is we become active with. So last week when we were talking about love, we said that love isn't passive. We said that the activity of love is very active, and that we need to be able to be doing these things. And so once again, as we look at the metaphysics that is given to us around the 12 powers and around really like this awesome stuff that we didn't even put together, but thank goodness for Charles, because he saw it. He started actually writing this information down in a variety of different ways in 1909, and continued up with different kinds of things all the way until the 12 Powers was actually published in 1930. So just think about that. We're in 2017, so this wisdom has been around for a very long time. And what Charles found with the 12 Powers is that Jesus called his disciples. He went out and individually called them to him. And as you read and study the 12 Powers, each one of those disciples had a different vibration. They stood for a different element of power. Not power like, kind of like Thor power. All right? But internal love power. The part of us that we activate, we quicken to move through our lives and overcome so many things in our world. But we have to actually activate them, and we study them. And so some of these powers we're going to learn about today as it relates to the Bible. We do have affirmations that will be available for you wherever Pamela has them. For right now, if you feel called to a particular power or strength, bless you, that you would like to incorporate in. And feel free to really sit with the words, the meanings, and the vibration as it transcends your body and your mind and your heart. So what happened was Jesus had called these 12 disciples to him. And in essence, each one of those disciples had one of these powers. We talk about the Christ because the Christ carried all of these powers. The number 12 means spiritual fulfillment. And so as the Christ, he had access to and attained and gained mastery over all of these different powers within him. So as we study these in our everyday lives, we recognize that, as Jesus said, this and greater we can do. So as you activate these in you, then you'll become a regenerated conduit of love. So with that, we are going to begin, and we're going to begin by lighting our Christ candle. And this Christ candle, we affirm that it encompasses faith and peace and love and joy. And we recognize the Christ that lives within. Pamela will be holding the vibration for us of our energies, of these powers as we move through this. And Tom and I will be sharing the metaphysical meanings and an affirmation. So this is a contemplative time, and I'm just inviting you all to sit back and relax and allow.
Blue is faith.
Whenever.
Mary. Mary has a very special place in our hearts because she is the quintessential activity of faith. The angel Gabriel, a divine visitor, knocked on the door of her heart, asking her to do the impossible. This news probably brought some fear and filled her with questions. Yet the moment she stepped forward in faith and into an unknown future, she created a space within herself for infinite possibilities to be born.
We light this candle to acknowledge our living light of faith, the light that calls us to forgive more fully and love more deeply. It calls each of us to be greater than we ever could have imagined. We're next going to look at light green, which represents strength. And that is represented by our shepherds. In the Gospel of Luke, the shepherds are tending to their sheep when the angels appear. They are doing what they have done for generations, watching over what is precious and necessary for life. They represent the enduring, living light of strength, the power and purity of steadfast perseverance we embody as we navigate life. The shepherds are that voice within, reminding us that we are not alone.
We light this candle to acknowledge our living light of strength, the light that carries us through our joys and our sufferings. The light of strength allows us to watch over what is most precious in our own lives because we know God is everywhere present. Yellow is wisdom, the three wise men. In the time of Jesus, the Magi, or wise men, had wisdom by being in touch with another reality. When they had the vision of Jesus' birth, they chose to act on it. At great risk to their own well-being, the Magi represent our capacity to seek guidance and answers, and to use that wisdom to create a world that works for all.
We light this candle to acknowledge our living light of wisdom, the light that is the link between our divine and our human nature. Wisdom directs us to act as love, compassion, joy, peace, and all divine ideas, bringing the invisible world into reality. Our next candle is going to be the color pink. And of course, that represents love, which is the gifts of the Magi. In the Gospel of Matthew, the gifts of the wise men bring to Jesus are gold, frankincense, and myrrh, rare and precious and priceless in Jesus' world. The Magi traveled from faraway nations and knelt before the Christ child as a sign of love and devotion. These gifts, they remind us that we are each worthy of giving and receiving the priceless gift of love and belonging.
We light this pink candle to acknowledge our living light of love, the light reminding us the Christmas story heralds the birth of a person who loved selflessly, and any person who loves in this way is fully alive with the gifts of the Magi. The purple candle represents power, Bethlehem. In Hebrew, Bethlehem literally translates as house of bread, which we would call the power of truth. This power is the foundation on which we stand, infusing our words, thoughts, and deeds to transform the world.
We light this candle to acknowledge our living light of power, the light that is the embodiment of Christ. We leave echoes of perfection when speaking words of truth. The power of our presence in the world is the greatest gift we can offer humanity. Our next candle is light blue, and it's for the imagination, which is represented by the Star of Bethlehem. In the Gospel of Matthew, the wise men were guided by the Star of Bethlehem to the newborn baby. It lit their path, allowing them to follow a way to the beginning of the new world. The star symbolizes our ability to imagine and envision a transformed world and follow that vision to express the Christ.
We light this light blue candle to acknowledge our living light of imagination, the light we use to create and give shape to the sacred and to form God into what the world needs most: compassion, joy, love, courage, and peace. The next candle is gold. Gold is understanding, representing Joseph. Joseph, the husband of Mary and father to Jesus, inspires us to view life through another's eyes. Joseph's character is strong and quiet, yet he has a desire to know the world in a more profound way, regardless of his challenges.
We light this candle to acknowledge our living light of understanding, the light that is our ability to stretch and see with new eyes, taking in all that is happening, not just with our senses, but with our hearts and our minds. This spiritual understanding leads us to knowing that peace that surpasses all human understanding. Silver, our next candle, represents will, and that is symbolized through the angel Gabriel. The angel Gabriel comes to Mary to let her know she will miraculously give birth to a child. Little did she know he would become a way-shower for the world on how to love, give, and forgive. The word angel means messenger from God. This divine visitor knocking on Mary's heart with a message that seems impossible reminds us that our angels represent the will of our highest self, leading and calling us to forgive more fully and to love more deeply.
We light this silver candle to acknowledge our living light of will, the light that is our willingness to say yes to that which is calling us to be greater than we could have ever imagined. The next candle is dark green, representing divine order, and that's the manger. The writer of Luke tells us that when Jesus was born, he was wrapped in cloth and laid in a manger. This is an extraordinarily humble beginning, yet this simple, often unseen barnyard trough is a symbol for that current of spiritual law that is ever present and always accessible.
We light this green candle to acknowledge our living light of divine order, the light that is naturally ordered, hidden, current of life we are always aligning with in order to bring forth a world in a balanced and harmonious way. The next candle is orange, one of my favorites, because it represents zeal. And the symbol of zeal are the heavenly hosts, which were making a very joyful noise. The prophet Isaiah wrote that a child will be born, the Prince of Peace, and heavenly hosts will express the zeal of the Lord. In the Gospel of Luke, the heavenly hosts ring out the song of Jesus' birth. And suddenly there was with the angel a multitude of heavenly hosts, a truly awe-inspiring image to represent the universal force that urges us to grow and enthusiastically move forward in life.
We light this orange candle to acknowledge our living light of zeal, the light that is the inward fire of the soul, passionately springing forward to manifest our Christ nature here on earth. The russet candle represents release, the prophets and King David. In Scripture, Jesus' lineage and connection to King David are highlighted, as are the prophets who foretold the coming of a Messiah. These characters show us that while our story matters, where, who, and what we come from, they also invite us to see what we may need to let go of on our spiritual journey.
We light this candle to acknowledge our living light of release, the light of surrendering to Spirit and releasing old thoughts, feelings, and experiences that are not for our highest good. And we've come upon our last candle, the red candle, which stands for life. And of course, our way shower, Jesus, is the symbol of our red candle. Christmas comes at the darkest time of the year, the setting in which Jesus' birth stories were written. Is it any wonder then that we yearn for the rich language of light, luminous, blazing, glowing, illuminating, radiant, sparkling, shining, brilliant? Light is deep within us as the symbol of what is most sacred, divine, and alive. It is life itself.
And as we light this red candle, we acknowledge our living light of life, which is the expression of vitality, wholeness, and creativity as demonstrated by Jesus. His birth and life remind us, show us that we are infused with the same divine presence he embodied and have the power and potential to express the eternal activity of God in all things and in all ways.
Take a moment and just allow the spirit of these candles to come in to the very vibration of who you are. We're going to allow these candles to remain lit, and we're going to be gently awakened even further with a song written by Dana as our next special music. Following that song, we will be having a candle lighting ceremony so that we can symbolize the Christ that we are within each of us. Dana, let's just stay here. Mm-hmm.
So, apparently we have a lot of Italians out there today, huh? Buongiorno a tutti. So, if we have a lot of Italians, that also means we probably have a lot of Catholic or former Catholics out there. So this song was inspired by a phrase that comes from the Catholic Church that I'm going to ask your help with. Christ was born, Christ was risen. There we go. I knew you'd get that one. That's what inspired this song. It's called Love Will Come Again.
The radiant glow on her face, with the look of ease and grace, in the humblest of place, she carried hope, she carried hope. In her womb the seed of life, a gift to all mankind. In the darkness of the night, she carried light, she carried light. It was a long, long time ago when hope was born. The wisest of us all followed their call and followed that star. Can't you hear the whisper in your ear? Don't you know the time is drawing near? Aren't all the signs so clear that love will come again? That love will come again. Love will come again. All those years ago he came on a one-man soul crusade, and he showed us all the way to bring in hope, to live in hope. And he said again he'd come, but next time not alone. So he brought us all along to bring in love again, to bring in love again. It was a long, long time ago when hope was born. The wisest of us all followed their call and followed that star. Can't you hear the whisper in your ear? Don't you know the time is drawing near? Aren't all the signs so clear that love is here again? That love is here again, here in you and me. With a radiant glow on her face, with a look of ease and grace, in the humblest of place, she carried hope, she carried hope, she carried hope.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, I was reminded as I was listening to Dana's song that this is actually the progression of a year of regeneration for us all. And that at the beginning of December, when we were all pregnant, we all found out we were pregnant. Even you, John, you were pregnant too. We were doing our internal work. And we were doing this in this thing called our manger, which is our heart. And we were preparing our heart by moving through releasing all of those pieces of ourselves that no longer belong, and really cultivating a consciousness that we want to move forward with. And that's this period of Advent. And it was really interesting because Charles Fillmore reminds us in the 12 Powers that Jesus prophesied the advent of a race of men who would sit with him on 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. And so here we are in this period coming forward for a year, where when we come together in December of 2018, we'll be again expressing some gratitude for all that went before us in this year, and again regenerating this place of love within our hearts. Isn't that like an amazing thought? Just wanted to share that with you guys. That was it. I thought that was really cool because it really helps us walk our talk and like bring in the mindfulness of our spirituality. So with that in mind, this is a very mind-filled experience. I'm going to invite you to bravely light the candle of the person next to you as this is passed on to you, making eye contact with them and acknowledging that you are the Christed Spirit. That's what we're celebrating, and we're lighting and holding that energy as we pass the love along. Will you join me in that? Does everyone have a candle? We have some people who need candles. And just to let you know, we will not be gathering in a circle today as we sing the peace song. We're going to stay where we are and just align our hearts to be connected hand to hand. Okay? And we'll say our prayer of protection from where we are. And then after the prayer of protection, we will collectively pretend that we're extinguishing our light, but really it's just a symbol. Our light will stay within us. Okay? So that's how we will then conclude our service for today. And then, of course, hugs all around. So I'm going to light yours after we light. the Christ in you. I love you, Daddy. Look around. Look at all of these individual manifestations of love. Hold your candle high. I am the light of the world. What? I am the love of the world.
I am the love of the world.
I am peace.
I am peace.
And so it is. Join together now as we sing very gently the peace song. Yes, we can stand, thanks. I was in my zone. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be.